How's it going, everyone? So, uh, as I said before, I was gonna do another video, and it wasn't gonna be, Gary's Mod related in any way, and it's not even a game. I'm just gonna be pointing out the stupid lies of this dumbass right here. If you don't know who this guy is, this is a man by the name of Chance Wilkins. He's also known online by like a whole other plethora of names, but he's commonly known as Cyraxx. Cyraxx is not a good person, ladies and gentlemen. If you know him, then you know all about him and what he is, but in case you don't, I'll give you the quick rundown. This is a 34-year-old literal goblin. He is, not a good person. He's a racist. He's a PDF file. He's an anti-Semite because, he's he is just, in my own words, the literal indefinition of failure, hatred, and just pure evil. But he made a video because he's been not on the internet. Well, he has been, but he's been in hiding. But essentially, he's back here and he's on YouTube, and this is like a day old. But this comes to us from the GOAT, N-Word Boi. I'm going to have a link to his channel in the description below. Go check him out and everything. He is truly an awesome person, him and William Gloryhole. I know you're probably watching this, Cyraxx, so yeah, they're the absolute GOATs. I hope you rot in hell. But without further ado, let's get into this.
You ever seen this? Hi. My name is Chance Wilkins. My story started 8 years ago when a very evil person by the name of Music Biz Marty tried to make a move on me.
I'm sorry, I gotta stop already. Not true, but, well, half true. But anyway, it's not important. I just find that really funny because he's never let that go.
I'm pretty sure bisexual because he had dated women in the past.
Oh, Jesus.
And he tried to make a move on me and I turned him down. And the way he got back at me is very, very evil. He decided to hire a mass troll mafia to pretend to be an of-age female who then tricked me into sending certain unsolicited photos of myself, and then she sent a photo back who I would later find out many years later was actually her daughter.
Not true. Let me explain. So, those that aren't exactly in the loop of Cyraxx knowledge and everything, what he's referring to is it's not the first time something like this had happened, in the sense of he's been accused before by one of his exes, but this is like when a YouTuber named Mass Troll Mafia, or Masshole Mafia, literally did a sting operation and caught him. She used a photo of somebody that was, at the time of the operation, not a 13-year-old. But when she used the photo, or I'm sorry, I got that backwards. She used a photo that she got off of Google, I'm pretty sure, and when she did the sting operation, the person in the photo wasn't 13 years old, but at the time of the picture being taken many years ago, they were a 13-year-old. And Cyraxx is obviously lying here. A good trait you can tell is when he closes his eyes like that. He's literally never been able to tell the truth whenever his eyes are open. Or he's never able to lie whenever his eyes are open. It's a pretty telltale sign right here of how Cyraxx, or Chancy Boi, is lying. But, yeah, so I'm just going to shoot holes into his argument right here. So aside from that, she did not pretend to be an of-age person and then backpedal on her words when she got Chance's, photos. What actually happened was Cyraxx had been told that she was, I think, a 15-year-old or a 13-year-old. Anyway, they were a minor. And they quite literally in the chat said, I'm a minor. I think she was saying that she was 14 years old. And Chance literally replies with, I'm 30 years old, but I look 14. And he sent nudes. He sent photos unsolicited. Masshole did not ask for them. and it's where we got the famous lines. If I've got the chat logs, I'm gonna pull them up right now. Your turn, cutie. Yeah, you bet you remember that one, Cyraxx. Those words will forever haunt you.
And as soon as she sent that photo, she claimed. Ever since then, I have had several attempts to try to illegally entrap me again.
No, that's not true.
More notably, the more notable one being several years later when Tibbs TV, who's another YouTuber, decided to try to pull the same stunt, but I know what the they were doing, why they were doing it, but it needed to stop.
Really quick, two other points. You can't not be entrapped by just a random person on the street. That's not the definition of it. Entrapment is when a police agency or a police officer sets up a situation that you wouldn't normally do without that officer's assistance. Basically, you cannot be entrapped by just someone on the internet, pretending to be that way. If they're not, a law enforcement agent, that's not how that works, Cyraxx. And another thing with Tibbs TV, Tibbs is a bad person, and we all know this. Tibbs has got, an absolute plethora of, bad things, and he's just as bad as you, Chance. He's just as bad as you. I'm pointing at you, Tibbs, and I'm pointing at you, Cyraxx. He is not a good person. I don't know necessarily why he was helping you. I think that he was just kind of doing it to, I don't know, try and get a one-up over everybody that was making fun of him. But, Tibbs is not a good person either. We know about his, weird love doll and his relation with his family and his also PDF file ways, and how they are pretty, similar to you. He literally got you to admit that you was a PDF file, Chance. He literally did. We have word for word in your own voice saying, I, Chance Wilkins, am a PDF file.
So I did, me being scared and not knowing what this person was capable of, I gave them what they wanted. Even though I knew that I wasn't. I did it out of being scared, being out of manipulated, and I just felt like I had no choice at all whatsoever but to give this person what they wanted, so I did so. But that's just the tip of the iceberg of the things that they've done to me and my family.
Yeah, please explain.
These same people are the same ones that over the past 3 months have cost me almost everything.
And what have you got to lose? Literally, like you say, it almost costed you everything. What have you got to lose? Look at his eyes. Again, I said earlier that this is the man, like literal and definition of failure. He is a 34-year-old man living in his grandmother's attic with no job, no source of income, no life skills and or survival skills ever. And in the entirety of his quote-unquote online career, I think he's ever made like, $111. He argues saying 116, but the point is that, I think, Marty, before he had passed away, said that like it took him, I think, like a month to make like $100. And it's like, bro, that's actual dog. That really is. I don't necessarily know what it is that he's lost. It's not like he had anything to lose anyway. He's a literal failure. Look at him.
These people have almost cost me my entire life. Over the past 3 months, I've had some of the worst things that you could ever have happen to a person.
Oh, God.
Everything that could go wrong has gone wrong.
And what might that be?
Because of these people. I lost the woman that I once loved. The woman that I once loved walked away.
Oh, God.
I lost my not my biological son, but I lost my son because of her.
Don't say
leaving, and because of these people.
Don't say it.
And the reason I say my son is because
don't say it.
Even though he was not my son by birth, I was there for him since the day he was born through everything.
That I'm gonna imagine is a lie. You know, you may have known Kara for, you know, the entirety since, you know, her son has been alive, but, you know, that's not you being present for that little boy. That's not how that works. I am young and I don't have, you know, children of my own, but, you know, someday I would like to have a child of my own. I really would. However, this person should not have any kind of access or literally any, you know, outlet to be around children. If Kara, like, told you about, you know, these moments with him where he apparently said, like, you know, dada, and you, like, you know, waved, goodbye to him when he goes to school or something, you know, that's not the same as being, you know, there for the kid. You know, that's just you being, like, you know, in Kara's life, and she just casually tells you, like, oh, the little boy said dad, or, you know, the little kid's going to school. And, you know, there's things as, like, FaceTime parents, but, you know, like, that's not the same thing. You, Cyraxx, are just... God, I'm having, like, a... My brain is shutting down, just, like, you know, trying to get my arguments out about this f***er.
His first steps, his first words.
Ugh.
I remember when her son, Callum, who is... Like I said, he's not really my son by birth, but I was there for him.
No, you
weren't. I remember some of his first words being daddy, mommy, the typical stuff. And when he said daddy, he looked right at me.
Are you gonna,
I was there for this boy since the day he was born to the day that he was 5 years old and when he left just a couple months ago.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
When he was forced to leave.
Forced to leave. Kara finally, you know, knew just what kind of person you were, i.e. a PDF file, and, you know, rightfully took your ability to see this child and interact with this child in any way, shape, or form, you know, took that away. And I bet you really are missing that boy, Cyraxx. I bet you really are missing that boy. Because you were wanting to probably prey on that child. I say probably, but, you know, it's probably... It's the truth. I need to not say probably. It is the truth. You were literally going to prey on this boy. And that's why I wish bad things for you. Every damn day I wake up and I think, God, I am so glad that my life is not like Chance Wilkins. You know, just... You deserve just the awfulest of things, Chance. Lord have mercy.
I lost my chance at a normal life.
Your life wasn't normal to begin with.
Anybody that tries to help me gets ridiculed. These people have actually, over the last, I'd say 2.5 years, through these last few months, have destroyed 2 Xboxes of mine.
Good.
They have destroyed 2 computers.
Good.
And 2 hard drives for those computers.
Good.
Adding up to over $2,000 in damages.
All that good.
These people have even gone as far as to make it so Amazon cannot deliver anything over $400 to my house.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Because you, on top of not deserving to have any nice thing in general, you use your computer and you use your Xbox as ways to get at children to then later talk to them on Discord and prey upon them.
That way, that's basically the troll known as William Gloryhole. He's the one who has basically done all this stuff from February up to now. February being when I lost my now ex Kira and my son and my normal life, all the way up to now.
Any woman that shows you any kind of attention is like the love of your life.
Like I said, I've lost a lot. I've lost a normal life. I've lost everything. And my family has tried to reach out for help, to get help from police, local law enforcement. We have gone to the FBI.
Oh, God.
We've gone to detectives. And it's even gone as far as one of my friends reaching out to Homeland Security.
Homeland Security. What is Homeland Security going to do for you, Chance? They're not going to do a shit.
And all we get is no help at all.
Because they know you're crazy. They know your whole family's crazy. They're a bunch of 43s.
Are sick individuals themselves.
Oh, jeez.
The main one, Music Biz Marty, back when he had a YouTube channel before he faked his death and went into hiding
to
hide from the IRS because he owes them money.
Not true again. Music Biz Marty is indeed somebody that, was messing with Chance. I use past tense because, Marty has unfortunately passed away. Whether you liked Marty or you didn't, I always was there and I was always watching and, I was always really interested in seeing this guy, just absolutely losing his mind on Marty's panel because Marty could push his buttons just right to make him freak out. And, obviously, I don't really think it takes a whole lot. Am I going to do it? No, because, and I'm going to tell you, avid viewer, if you're watching this, leave, this kind of messing with Chance stuff, to N-Word Boi and William Gloryhole. Don't with Cyraxx. Just be a casual observer like me, just watch and just laugh and take it in from, like, the comfort of your seat. Don't try and get into the middle of it.
He had done something that no person should ever do.
And what might that
which
be?
It showed a sense of community. He showed them support.
What is this?
And he did so by allowing them to have a platform to speak. And those 3 people that he showed support to are Anacondason,
Oh, God.
White Bowser, and Tony the Black Dragon. Or Tony the Black Dragon Lord, I should say.
That doesn't mean anything,
Tony the Black Dragon and Anacondason were convicted many times.
No, they weren't. No, they weren't. As far as I'm aware, no, they weren't. Yeah, they're bad people, and I'm not excusing any of their behavior in any way, shape, or form because they are awful people. That doesn't take away from what you've done, Chance. That doesn't take away or make what you've done any, less worse. And, naming them and trying to say, don't pay attention to what I did. Look at Marty, having these 3 guys up on panel and everything, That doesn't take away from what you've done, Chance. You can point fingers all you want and, name worse people or just as bad people as you, but we're never going to forget what you've done. Your turn, cutie, and we'll never let that down, Chance. Those words will haunt you for the rest of your miserable life.
White Bowser openly admitted to it, almost as if he was happy and proud to say that he did those things. And William Gloryhole's best friend, N-Word Boi. N-Word Boi is a man on YouTube known by the name of Tobias, which I will be posting the link to that channel in the comments.
I can't believe he's believing that.
As well as another post.
But then again,
or 2 other posts that are very disturbing. He is in college currently. And these people have done very illegal things.
I guess. everything he said about N-Word Boi is incorrect. Someone gave him a letter that had supposedly N-Word Boi's like actual information, which was all fake. It wasn't real.
Very illegal things. William Gloryhole being one of the worst ones. He had my now ex Kira's current boyfriend, who is a troll, by the way.
Everybody's a troll now.
He had her boyfriend record a video of them. He then sent that video to William Gloryhole, her current boyfriend by the name of Dominic, who's the one that, like I said, she left me for. Because it was by force.
By force. Yeah. Everything's by
William
force.
Forced Dominic to make a video. I had nothing but the most love and respect for that little boy.
I bet you did,
And
Chance.
even though me and her are no longer together, I still love that boy very, very, very much.
I bet you do, buddy. I bet you do. You are just absolutely just frothing at the mouth that you didn't get to be an actual father like you always hoped and prayed to be. You're just, so heartbroken that, you were just not able to be the father to that little boy like you want. Totally not for nefarious reasons. Totally not.
I still care about him to this day because, like I said, to me, he will always be my son, no matter what. Like I said, even though he's not mine by birth, I will always see that little boy as my son. I miss that boy every day.
I bet you do.
Even though I know that I may not get to see him ever again, I still think about him.
I bet you do.
I still love him to death.
In the wrong ways.
And I always will. But these same people that judge me are the same ones that do all this awful stuff. And at one point, William Gloryhole even tried to sell the tape that was over an hour long. He basically chopped it up into 7 different videos. And
I don't know what he's talking
chopped it up and tried to sell it on the internet. And even posted posts on his community tab on YouTube to promote it 2 different times.
Oh, I'm guessing.
And yet, social media does nothing about any of this stuff that's going on.
I guess what he's talking about here is like supposed. Well, I guess not supposed, because if Williams got it, then it must be real. I think Kara had like some weird like sexual videos or something, and like he had it and he'd like chopped it up and was selling it on like a site or something. I don't know.
They don't care who they hack. They don't care whose lives they ruin. As long as they get what they want in the end.
Right.
That's all they care about. Is chaos and destruction. I have not had a normal life because of these people in over 8 years.
Because you don't deserve one.
Because of these people, I suffer from PTSD. I suffer from depression, anxiety, panic attacks. And what's so bad about everything is, yes, I've done illegal stuff out of pure self-defense because I felt like I had no choice.
Let's talk about that. What Chance is referring to here is when Chance, notably, he's been in trouble, a few times with his local, law enforcement, and it's because his tactic, of getting back at Marty and everything, as we'll call it, it was to jump up and down on his panel and flash his member, because he's like, in his mind it's like, Marty can get, he can get banned because it's got like, sexual stuff in it and everything, and it's like, that just makes you look more deranged and everything. And that is actually against the law in where he lives. You know, there's an actual statute, you know, that he is breaking every time he does that. The cops has even like told him to not do it, and you know you can see it in the body cam footage. You know, if I can find it, I'll put it in the description because you know that's a huge thing to edit and everything. But like, you know, you can see that he's just absolutely shitting himself whenever that cop is, you know, telling him and like, you know, calling him out for it. And then the second time was back in June of 2023, I believe, or 24. One of those years. It was back in June, late June. He had won out and hit somebody with a bat, you know, on the side. It was aware of myself and everything. And he had went to jail for that, and there was a big old legal case. But, you know, again, that's his whole, you know, thing of being like, I've had to do illegal stuff to protect my family because nobody was, you know, nobody would help me. Dude, nobody got in your room, dropped your pants, and, you know, made you do what you did with your member. Nobody did. That was all you. That was all a conscious decision that you made, and that makes you look even more unhinged, deranged, and just stupid.
You know, I had no choice because every time my family would reach out to police or to any form of law enforcement, we would get met with silence. We would get met with little, very, very little to no help at all whatsoever.
No, you'd get the help that you needed.
These people committed illegal entrapment against me.
Oh God, this again.
A woman used her own daughter.
Not true. Not true.
To entrap me.
Not true at all.
All for views, clicks, likes, all so that they can make fun of me.
And we love doing that.
If anybody is listening, please share this video with everyone you can. Thank you.
One more thing before I go. Obviously I have to say this so that way YouTube doesn't, like, you know, condone this or, you know, try to suppress this in any way, shape, or form. Don't go out and bully people. Sit back in the comfort of your chair and be a casual observer, you know, because, you know, at the end of the day, yeah, it's pretty entertaining, but, you know, to me and to plenty of other people, you know, the true satisfaction at the end of the day is knowing that, you know, this little fucker right here can't harm any children, cannot have any kind of platform to get access to children, and he just absolutely did not have any form of happiness in his life. I don't want him to, in any way, shape, or form, have any form of happiness. And Cyraxx, if you're watching this, which I know you probably are, because I've seen, like, before, that you've literally looked yourself up on YouTube, probably seeing if one of your stupid little, like, you know, buddy trolls made a video being, like, you know, defending you and everything. All I'm going to say is this. You're a horrible person. I literally hope every bad thing imaginable could happen to you. And I also, you know, pray to God that you never find happiness in your life because you don't deserve it and you are a liar. But with that, that's the end of this. This was Cyraxx, ladies and gentlemen. You know, I don't like this guy. Plenty of other people don't like this guy. And, you know, maybe I might make another one of these, or maybe I'll just make a video talking about him and, like, his past. You know, maybe I'll look a video that was, like, a lot older in his, you know, history, like, you know, 2020, when he was, like, you know, when a lot more stuff was happening. If you liked this video, please leave it a like. If you didn't like it, tell me why in the comments. And, you know, with that, you know, I'll see you all later.